SCP-7555. All entrances to Intersite are currently inaccessible to civilian or state entities. Aperture Omega-2 and by extension Aperture Omega-1 are contained within a standard hard vacuum graviton containment chamber and Biological Research Area 12 Humanoid and Esoteric Containment Wing. Theta within the Anomaly Operations Sector. In case of a temporary graviton containment failure, the chamber frame has been reinforced with titanium alloy to ensure structural integrity through any potential gravitational disturbances. It has been fitted with a thick layer of niobium C-103 to withstand and contain the internal vacuum conditions, along with the immense thermal radiation that is continuously propagated through these apertures. The containment unit is accessible through an airlock only traversable by individuals equipped with specialized extreme heat-resistant pressure units. Access is exclusively permitted from the object's research head. Object 5 refers to a titanic biological mass contained with an extra-universal space designated Intersite. The exact dimensions of both are unknown. The object is sentient, bivorous, heterotrophic, statiokinetic organism composed of several anomalous segments visually resembling that of a mammalian digestive tract. Aperture Omega-1 and Omega-2, two apertures of the otherwise non-anomalous Morris Throne class, a traversable wormhole will trigger an anomalous property when biological materials attempts to traverse through one aperture and not the other. Instead of being transported through to the other side, material is instead transferred into Intersite via a third aperture designated Way Psi 0. Biological materials now within Intersite are drawn into one of the many large esophagi, all inconsistent in size, shape, and appearance, where they are now transported further into Object 5. Three-dimensional materials within the stomach now undergo a process of dimensional adoption, a newly discovered anomalous process where dimensionally stable material will begin to adopt additional spatial dimension. In contrast to typical dimensional shedding, which is an independent process, dimensional adoption has only been observed to occur within Object 5 and is thereby believed to be dependent upon specific anomalous mechanisms. The internals of Object 5 past its stomach remain unexplored. Non-biological materials appear entirely incapable of passing through the equivalent duodenum. It is unknown whether this dimensional digestive process serves to provide Object 5 with any form of physiological benefit, as the induced adoption of additional spatial dimension in matter would suggest otherwise, expending energy and providing it additional mass throughout the process. The Morris Thorn Class A traversable wormhole that forms Object 5 oral cavities bridge and allow for non-biological material to traverse between two locations through their respective apertures. One end located in a specialized vacuum containment chamber within Area 12's Humanoid Esoteric Containment Wing Theta, Aperture Omega-1, and the other located in close orbit of Sirius B, a main sequence Type A star located nearby the Orion constellation, Aperture Omega-2. These two connect to each other through conventional means, conforming to standard non-anomalous cosmological models. Their anomalous attributes manifest only when biological material attempts to pass through either aperture, redirecting the material through a third inter-universal way, designated Way Psi 0. Object 5 is highly intelligent, capable of advanced communication with Foundation researchers through manipulation of exotic matter, within its aperture causing highly directed localized gravitational disturbances towards nearby structures. Resulting vibrations to then be picked up through seismographs and translated through Morse code. Object 5 appears to be able to discern vibrations within its nearby vicinity despite the surrounding vacuum within its containment chamber. Further research into this ability is ongoing. The parasite universe, designated Intersite, is connected to and completely dependent on our own universe. The dimensional condition of Intersite oscillates irregularly between the 3 and 4 spatial dimensions, often simultaneously displaying attributes of both. It is theorized that this M/3.5/1 space, formed with 4 spatial dimensions, is attempting to adopt conditions similar to that of its new host. How or why this universe formed remains unknown. Adverse universal Hume conditions have been ruled out as a potential cause, with current theories suggesting the more likely possibility that natural, extra-universal forces beyond biological human conception were either partially or wholly at play. However, with what limited information has been gathered to date, the resting narrative energy within Intersite is believed to be in a state of degenerative metastability. Unless specified otherwise, Aperture Omega-1 and Omega-2 will from here be included in reference to Object 5. Object 5 was discovered on June 5, 2020, when the Composite Orbital Early Warning System reported anomalous graviton and photon fluctuations within high Earth orbit, traveling at approximately 29.78 kilometers per second. The object was marked by automated systems as a likely K-class meteoroid, with significant anomalous attributes on a 20-minute impact course with the eastern United States. Conventional ground-to-orbit weapons installations provided entirely incapable of acquiring a successful target lock on the object, and the order to utilize the anomalous alternative was cancelled when it was calculated that sufficiently powerful installations would be incapable of spooling in time to avert the impact. The dire state of affairs necessitated an external call to aid. The Global Coalition was contacted and informed of the unfolding incident and provided clearance to liquidate the object despite its presence within mutually agreed upon SCPF territory. 5 minutes later, a launch was detected from the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico, with the projectile accelerating to an estimated 18.5% the speed of light before reaching its approximate location of Object 5, disappearing from STOS precisely 1 minute 22 seconds before the object's impact with Earth. Object 5 appeared entirely unaffected by the launch, continuing its calculated trajectory towards the eastern United States. Object 5 landed in the outskirts of the village of Bemis, West Virginia. Upon discerning a lack of impact event, the nearest mobile task force was rapidly mobilized and deployed to the area. MTF Zeta 19 arrived in the remote village 15 minutes later, finding no signs of life or human activity. After clearing each building within the local village, the team discovered Object 5 within the local church, streaming having been noted from within mere moments before the entry was made. The entity was found behind the church altar, generated significant gravitational disturbances. The team utilized local gravitic priority devices to safely approach the aperture, deploy a high ultimate tensile strength carbon nanotube to provisional containment system around the entity, successfully encasing it. Containment teams arrived shortly after and took the object into custody. Object 5 was securely transported to the nearest containment facility for evaluation and processing. Area 12 was chosen as the prime candidate, and the object was temporarily assigned to a facility's humanoid and esoteric division. Additional sweeps of the village and surrounding area are carried out. No human activity is noted. After decoding the Morse-like gravitational waves from Object 5, 2 experts from the Foundation begin a direct communication session with it. What follows is confusing and ultimately cognito-hazardous. It reveals that Object 5 is vastly intelligent, sentient, and potentially info-hazardous. Object 5 claims to have come into being in a star, likely Sirius. It was once small and unaware, but grew into what it is now. It regards human notations of containment and ownership of the cosmos with disdain, claiming stars do not belong to you. When asked about the disappearance of the town's inhabitants, it cryptically states that they were re-forgotten and recalled, implying a metaphysical restructuring or erasure of identity rather than death. Object 5 implies that memory creates persistence, and by remembering someone, they still exist in some form, and forgetting them removes their form entirely. It speaks of pre-human or non-human civilizations that humanity has forgotten, civilizations remembered only by beings unbound. After the object's info-hazardous properties begin to reveal themselves, both of the researchers become unconscious, later taking amnestics. One of the professors was unable to be located by security and medical staff when they arrived on the scene. An exhaustive search of Area 12 was carried out to no avail. To this date, investigations on their possible whereabouts have yielded no conclusive results. Uninterrupted security footage of incident exists and can be viewed without issue. However, an unknown, seemingly impregnable anti-magnetic effect manifests upon viewing the presumed cause of the professor's disappearance. Retaining knowledge of the event appears impossible, even under the effect of the most potent and non-lethal amnestics known to the Foundation. The other research was rushed to the facility's medical wing and put into a medically induced coma while doctors monitored for any potential cognitive impairments and latent info hazards. She was released following a week without notable issues. During her absence, Area 12 researcher Dr. Hugo Tarsile took charge of Object 5 research head. Addendum 3. Object 5 Exploration. A technique permitting non-biological material to pass through aperture omega-1 into way size 0 was formulated, executed, and subsequently confirmed by the parabiology in Rhizospheres Division under the Aten Object 5 research head. By encasing the non-biological materials in at least 50 centimeters of biological materials and inserting it through non-anomalous aperture, the anomalous property is successfully triggered, transporting both the carcass and the drone within it into the interside. Expeditionary Drone 1. Mission: Preliminary Discovery and Observation. Connection to the drone will remain intact following unexpected but successful transportation into interside, with only minor alterations consistent with the increasing distance of the receiver. Many primary features of Object 5 are first noted during this expedition, primarily the similarities between Object 5's internal organs and the mammalian digestive tract, its anomalous digestive process, and the atypical spatial dimensional behaviors. The uninterrupted connection with the drone confirms that unlike materials with mass which are capable of entering interside through way size 0 but incapable of exiting, elementary particles whose invariant mass is 0, such as photons, free gluons, and gravitons, are capable of flowing freely through interside and are universe without interruption. Expeditionary Drone 2. Mission: Closer examination of way size 0. Unlike aperture omega-1 and omega-2, who conform to non-anomalous cosmological models, way size 0 appears as a uniform 5 polytype in physical space, violating normative space-time through its tessellated geometry within the M3.51 space. It was additionally noted that Expedition D2 was transported to an entirely separate location than the initial drone, with way size 0 dissipating from its previous position within interside and relocated into another esophagus of Object 5, as the new biological matter triggered the anomalous effects of aperture omega-1 and omega-2. The purpose of this highly atypical waveform continues to elude top foundation parascientists and neurospatio-temporal experts. Further research is required. Expeditionary Drone 3. Mission: Tissue Sampling. The internal lining of the esophagus is examined by a specialized sampling drone. The genetic sequence of Object 5 is revealed to contain traces of several species of the Homo genus, including Homo erectus, Floresiensis, Londi, Neanderthaliensis, Oblitus, and Sapiens. While containing homogeneous DNA possessed in a distinctly mammalian digestive tract, Object 5 does not appear to possess any type of mitochondria or other equivalent organelles in the object, and the organism cells somehow persist without any form of aerobic reproduction or respiration, generating little to no energy which should be required for the cell to function. This is additionally reflected in the atypically low overall thermal energy generated by the organism. Attempts are made to cut through the esophageal lining and exit Object 5, however the material composing the tissue is too dense for the rudimentary cutting tools carried by the sampling drone. Extensive examination of the genetic information later discovered anomalous molecular traces consistent with previously studied instances of spontaneous noogenesis without non-animate ordinary objects. Further research required. Carbon dating of organic Object 5 material have so far yielded no conclusive results. An additional expedition into interside is also formalized with the express purpose of breaking through the tissue of Object 5's internal organs, slated to take place in a few days' time. Expeditionary Drone 4. Mission: Stomach Exploration. Closer examination of the stomach lining reveal a wide variety of symbols roughly etched into the tissue. These symbols delineate anything from simple geometrical shapes to well-known poems, to highly complex two-dimensional orthographic projections of four-dimensional objects. The stomach is additionally noted to be especially susceptible to the dimensional oscillation events within interside, resulting in the drone experiencing extreme difficulty navigating through the organ, often getting lost in the esoteric topology. During an examination of a poem by Willis Whately found etched into Object 5's stomach lining, a clear, colorless fluid began extruding from the characters composing the poem. The fluid is sampled and determined to be nearly identical to Homo sapiens' cerebrospinal fluid. Further research required. An image of the poem has been included along with the document to be found below during the final exploration log. Expeditionary Drone 5. Mission: Deeper Exploration. The drone was dispatched deeper into Object 5 digestive tract and provided further detailed recordings of every step of the spatiokinetic digestive process up until the small intestine, where the drone did not pass further due to an unidentified gravitational force seemingly only exerted upon non-biological materials. Research into the nature of this force is currently underway with the goal of developing a technique to bypass it and gain the access to Object 5. Addendum 4. Abrupt seismic activity. Object 5 abruptly began to generate seismic activity late at night on July 11th. No staff were present during the events of the following transcription.
No. Before the fall of the Venusians, those who immune you. I want to help separate you. Please, need to know. You're not like them. What more can I do? They fear it. They refuse. They always refuse. Why? Why are you here? Are there more like you? But good luck lies in odd numbers.
Addendum 5. Inter-Psi observations. Expeditionary drones 6, 7, 8, and 9 were each equipped with heavy incision tools and other specialized gear successfully breached through the esophagus of Object 5 into Inter-Psi. Footage from the expedition revealed several aspects of the parasite universe in Object 5 that could have previously only been theorized. Early footage by Expeditionary Drone 6 captured an internal view of one of Object 5's stomachs, revealing the organ to be an apparent dead end with the digestive tract, despite clear prior observations to the contrary. The stomach is additionally noted to be significantly smaller in size compared to measurements taken previously within the organ, which extended far beyond the limits of what could be physically contained within its external dimensions. Its conclusion suggests that the rest of Object 5's digestive systems are located entirely within the non-Euclidean space, internally to their respective stomachs. This discovery foiled plans to attempt accessing deeper organs within the digestive tract before external entry. Expeditionary Drone 7 was dispatched to explore the additional esophagi attached to the central digestive organ, finding each to extend further than to be physically explored by the drone on its limited charge. Deep field imaging of their vast distance yielded no sign of a terminator. This quality was noted on all esophagi connected to the stomach, including the esophagus with the expedition made its exit from within. The expeditionary drone was sent back into the esophagus to measure the remaining distance to the stomach, finding this internals to be vastly contracted in the comparison to the external dimensions. Ultra-deep field images of Inter-Psi estimate the approximate age of the universe to be a minimum of 300,000 years. However, most notably, cosmic spectrum radiation imaging returned no signs of microwave radiation throughout Inter-Psi at any point in its history, suggesting its formation conditions were not that of expansion from its initial state of density and temperature. It is currently unknown whether or not the space within Inter-Psi is static, expanding, or contracting. The source of Inter-Psi's seemingly omnipresent luminance has yet to be determined. Addendum 6. Critical extra-universal developments. Preliminary theories on the formation of Inter-Psi assumed it to be the result of independent extra-universal phenomena, and its subsequent attachment to our universe, the result of desperate requirement for additional reality to stabilize and maintain the parasite universe's existence. Observations from Expedition Drone 6 have additional expeditionary tools external to Object 5 within Inter-Psi have detected additional human activity originating from a previously unidentified M/4/1 space designated as Exit 0. Also parasitically related to Inter-Psi, this appears to be the true cause behind Inter-Psi's abnormal and spatial activity, rather than a parasite universe attempting to adapt to a narrow spatial dimensional state of a singular host. Inter-Psi is in actuality attempting to simultaneously adapt to two hosts with incompatible dimensional states, resulting in significant spatial irregularities. Recent alterations of unknown origin within Inter-Psi have resulted in Exit 0 gaining dominant influence over the narrow spatial temporal state of the shared parasite universe. A consequence of this power shift has yet to be fully determined. However, a primary aspect appears to be significantly physiological alterations within Object 5, A new gravitational field has been detected moving from deeper within Object 5 and outward towards the esophagus, in contrast to the graviton field influencing three-dimensional biological matter, which moves in the opposite direction. This force, however, appears to only influence four-dimensional matter, which is now being detected in increased amounts throughout Object 5. Way size 0 has additionally seen a substantial increase in topological complexity. While the properties of the way still remain unclear, this new topology appears to, in addition to massless particles, permit four-dimensional material to exit inter-psi through way size 0 and into our universe. Object 5's oral cavity, previously thought to consist of only aperture omega 1 and omega 2, has proven significantly more expansive. Trace amounts of four-dimensional matter now exiting inter-psi into our universe have permitted Foundation probes to track the sum total of the possible vectors. Mathematics has assured me that the numbers are right. Low-end estimates place Object 5's true number of aperture is roughly at 10 to the power 24, corresponding approximately with the calculated height and amount of stars within the observable universe. Considering the nature of what we previously assumed was only aperture omega 1 and omega 2, it is not out of the question that Object 5 classifies as an interfilamental organism, spanning roughly 93 gigalight years. So what does this all mean? I'm not quite sure, but what I do know, and what I'm sure most of you do too, is that in our decades at the Foundation is pretty par for the course. We will solve this. Humanity will be safeguarded, and we will continue our fight through the darkness, the terror, and their chaos. And after that, we move on to the next emergency. This day will be no different, not for you anyway. Addendum 6. Impromptu interrogation. The following transcript recites events that took place during an impromptu confrontation between Object 5 and the head of Object 5's research. This interrogation occurred without prior notice to Area 12's Administrative Division, violating several health and safety guidelines. Security forces were alerted, as per safety protocols. However, due to the Foundation-wide preparation for Internal Information Protocol Foundation, none responded to the incident. The researcher enters a secure observation room to interview Object 5, clearly shaken and emotional over the disappearance of her colleague. She prepares the equipment and begins asking what Object 5 is. It responds to Justin has been recently to understand its own nature, through someone connected to Toth that claims to be a cleanser of some infestation, and asserts it is not actually a prisoner, but something beyond comprehension. It recognizes the researcher and speaks to her with familiarity. Researcher attempts to keep observation clinical with Object 5, but Object 5 continues to press emotional and philosophical questions, asking why she fears, why she protects life, and whether her motivations are truly her own. It suggests that she is only asking out of fear of the loss of her colleague. She demands what happened to her colleague, becoming increasingly emotional and aggressive. Object 5 continues its monologue, delving into existential ideas about life, justice, and introspection. It insists it didn't harm him, but offers no concrete information, only abstract philosophy and physiological probing. As the conversation intensifies, the containment systems around Object 5 begin to fail. Its presence grows stronger, and the structure begins to destabilize. At the climax, Object 5 delivers a cryptic final message suggesting a hidden enemy and a past mistake coming back to the surface. The power fails as seismic activity erupts from Object 5's containment chamber, signaling a catastrophic breach.